富、名声、力、この世の全てを手に入れた男、海賊王ゴールド・ロジャー。彼の死に際に放った一言は人々を海へ駆り立てた。
俺の財宝か？欲しけりゃくれてやる。探せ、この世の全てをそこに置いてきた。
男たちはグランドラインを目指し夢を追い続ける。世はまさに大海賊時代。
irritatingの夢をかき集め、探し物を探しに行くのさ。onepiece。羅針盤なんて渋滞のもと、夏に生かされ舵を取るのさ。誇りかぶってた宝の地図も確かまたのなら伝説じゃない。個人的な主は誰かのバイオリズムの過程思い過ごせばいい。irritatingの夢をかき集め、探し物を探しに行くのさ。ポケットのコイン、So that's who you wanna be, my friend. We are on the cruise. We are. Guys, I've figured it all out. I know what's going on. I got secrets. They're after me. Because I got the secrets. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. Why the live action is bad. What Luigi's dream is. What the One Piece is. Aruba's guide to a robust and good sex life. It's got it all. I got it all. It's all in here. So, let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Pirate Odyssey, where apparently I have my Discord audio going through my speakers instead of my headphones, which I need to rectify immediately. And where we are talking about the 5th episode of the live-action One Piece adaptation. Now, as we don't really need like more thorough introductions at this point. You know, we've been doing this for a while, especially if the live action series part of it. especially the live action series part of it. If you're not at part 5 of our dissertation if you haven't watched the other first 4 parts. So none of that intro shit. I will say, episode 5, I think, in the live action, marks a marketed upturn in quality compared to the first 4 episodes, specifically in terms of the writing. This is thus far the least poorly written episode of the live action adaptation. And that is in large part
yes.
That is in large part due to the fact that the character dialogue and the banter between the main characters is the best that it has been and the most believable that it has been.
But it's still not great. I mean, I have my complaints about it still, about the dialogue, but you know,
I mean, it's still certainly not as good as the original. But most of the complaints I have in regards to the writing more have to do with structural issues with Baratier and the entire series as a whole, than the actual, like, line-to-line dialogue.
What's up with the gloves? Quick question.
Because, why not?
Just checking, bro.
Just why not?
Okay. Sorry I asked. My bad.
Not everything needs to be so explained.
So, some things do, though, okay?
No. I'll I try to make it entertaining, okay? I'm trying to do like a different bit every time for these live action episodes to make it more fun. Okay?
Okay, well, I guess the audience will have to tell us if it's fun.
Yeah.
If the latex gloves are fun.
Yeah. I just didn't have a lab coat with which I could make myself look even more insane for that opening bit.
You couldn't have
Um,
used your bathrobe. That would have been better.
I
I'm
already
sorry.
used
I'm just
no,
I'm just roasting you left and
I
right.
already used the bathrobe though, so I can't repeat bits. That was my thought on that one. I can't repeat it.
But you're wearing a
Um,
shirt this time, so it's different, okay?
the only bit that I'll repeat is the wine glass because I think that's fun.
Okay.
I'm starting to repeat drinks that are in the wine glass though, unfortunately, because I'm too
Bummer.
lazy
You
to
ran
go.
out of your craft soda.
No, I haven't drinking any of that. I
Uh,
I could have used that. But in terms of the running out of drinks, it's more a matter of I would rather not go grocery shopping every Saturday just to find like a different flavor of juice that I want to drink.
yeah. You could try some I don't know, maybe some water.
Yes, I could put water in there at some point. It would probably be smart for me to do so, but then it wouldn't look as like then the bit wouldn't be as fun because then it doesn't
You
look
know,
like
you
I'm
know, like
drinking like a wine or some other kind of liquor out of a wine glass, even though it's just juice because I don't drink alcohol.
like sparkling water since we're at the Baratier, like that would have been cute.
Oh yeah, because he offers Nami sparkling water with or without ice or like specific kinds of ice and all that
Yeah.
jazz. Oh, I could have put milk in it actually. Maybe I should have put milk in it instead of grape
Damn.
juice, cranberry.
You should have told me this bit ahead of time. I'm coming up with better ideas. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I thought my starting bit was pretty good. This has gone so off the rails at this point.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My bad.
So
To be fair, I hadn't tuned into Twitch yet when you were doing your bit, so like I'm just now seeing the full picture. So sorry.
you only heard me doing the like the voice
Yeah, I
of
only
it. You
heard
didn't
it.
see me like walk into the room. Whatever, doesn't matter.
I'll see you later. Okay.
So episode 5 of the live action. It starts by picking up where episode 4 left off, which is with Garp attempting to capture Luffy and the other Straw Hats. And my first note that I wrote down is not so much a criticism of the live action in particular. In fact, this is like way more of a thing in One Piece proper, but just like also media with pirate ships and specifically cannons. It's hilarious how inaccurate cannons are always in fiction. You go watch like Pirates of the Caribbean, half the cannonballs miss. Even when the ships are like on top of each other, it seems like
Yeah,
half
yeah.
the cannonballs miss. And in One Piece, it's like only 1 out of every 10 cannonballs is on target.
Hey, look, you can't destroy the whole ship, okay? Come on. But yeah, my this off topic again. But yeah, that's one of the big gripes I hear from like all my nerd friends who go to medieval conventions is that cannons suck in all movies. So
Yeah, I mean, it's if you can aim it, granted, it's harder to aim a cannon than it is to aim a piece of artillery because the artillery is more sophisticated technology associated with it and also is going to be more precise. But it's not as though it's like that hard to aim a cannon. Generally speaking, you point it in a direction and it shoots in that direction. The only thing you necessarily have to consider in regards to a land cannon is the angle, which would determine how far it goes. When you're on a ship, I imagine you can control that to a certain extent. But what's really funny about the way ship cannons are handled in fictional media is they'll have the cannon shoot in the way they'll have the splashes hit the water. It's like they just like go left to right instead of just straight. And it's like that's not what a cannon does. There's very minimal amounts that it'll deviate to the left and right. It's gonna go pretty straight.
Yeah, yeah. Unless I'm assuming you don't know how to use a cannon, like the Straw Hats.
Well,
You don't know
that's
what
the
you're
thing,
doing.
though. Usopp knows how to use a cannon better than apparently every Marine because he hit an island first try.
Look, he was just born with it, you know? Those good
Not
genes.
not live action Usopp though. He doesn't even know how to load the cannon, and when he goes
Oh
to do
yeah,
it, he
yeah,
drops
yeah.
the cannonball, which is just pathetic.
And so
Like,
Zoro's like, wait, what direction is this? I'm like, bro, how did you get around by yourself this whole time? It's like a
well,
bounty hunter. I'm so
I thought it was I thought it was fine with Zoro because it's like not everybody uses ship terminology, especially when he's by himself and he isn't a navigator. Which is like kind of a lot of the point, at least in the series proper, with Luffy and Zoro's. They don't know how to fucking get from place to place until they come out across Nami, and Zoro in particular gets lost constantly afterwards. Anyways, uh,
right.
uh, but like not knowing what end of a cannon to put the cannonball in when it only has one opening, and then dropping the cannonball, and then also the way that they like dropped the cannonballs and the way that they were like shown, they didn't look like they weighed all that much when cannonballs are supposed to be like solid
No, what's up
hunks
with
of
my
iron.
Sorry. I don't know what's up with my camera. Okay.
The auto adjust, it's going wild.
Yeah. Okay, continue. I'll just leave it out like this.
It was
Just see my whole bedroom though.
it was just silly, especially since Usopp's supposed to be like the sniper. Like of all the people on that ship that should know how to use a cannon, whether or not he's necessarily used one before, it's Usopp because that's like literally his role in the crew. He is the sniper. Anyways.
Yeah. That's my thing. And I did like though that this was Nami's time to shine, to like kind of take the reins and kind of be like, okay, you do this, you do that, like we're gonna go in this direction. I thought that was a really good moment for her. So
Yes, like I
it
said,
shows her navigation skills at work. So
yeah, like I said, most of the interpersonal dialogue was like actually pretty decent in this episode.
yeah, they were all like bantering off each other really well. So I did like that, and like it was actually like witty and like funny, even like with the Marines talking to each other like at this point in time, it was all very funny. So yeah, I did like that.
Uh, Moving on, this episode really starts to like make. I found it started to really make evident why this version of Garp feels so different than the actual Garp. And it's really in how like grumpy he is. Not even necessarily how serious
In
he
this
is,
version,
but in how he's like he's so grumpy in the live action. I finally killed that thing. It was flying around my room for like the entire day.
good for you.
So they show the brief flashback of child Luffy building a raft, saying that he's going to be king of the pirates or whatever, and Garp gets mad at him and destroys the raft. And in that moment, and throughout the other moments Garp appears in this episode, I'm thinking to myself, in similar circumstances, in the series proper, when Garp would be a lot more rambunctious about these things, a lot more spirited, I guess, or jovial. But the live action Garp always is like super grumpy about all of it, and
Yeah,
with a frown on his face.
it kind of reminded me a little bit of like a how I kind of saw the scene with like Garp. Of course, I'm like not that far into the anime yet of like their reunion, but at least in this scene or with when Luffy's like a kid and he's with Garp, it's not too uncommon for like a parental figure to kind of like I guess kind of see their children as like an extension of themselves. So so him being like, "Oh, like you're not going to be a pirate, you're going to be a marine like I am." So I did like that part of it because that's super normal for like parental figures to do.
Yeah, and
Oh my
Gee, that your dog is freaking out. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna
that
go let him out real quick. Hold on.
okay. That is a carryover from the series proper. Is Garp wants to make Luffy into a marine, and but like the way that they go about presenting that is completely different, tonally. And a good chunk of that really has to do with their approach as well as parental figures. It like doesn't line up with what we understand of the relationship between Luffy and Garp as it gets explained in the actual series. It doesn't make sense for him to act in the manner that he does in the live action, where he gets so deeply involved in Luffy's actions as a pirate. And
Oh,
I'll
okay.
I'll explain a little bit more of that later.
Okay. Okay, but that is interesting then.
Yeah. Uh, Focusing
Hmm.
still on the flashback, I also didn't like the montage of him destroying the raft. It felt like his physical movements were like stiff. That might be just me, but a gripe that I do have that uh it I don't think is just me or shouldn't be just me is that if the actual Garp were to be destroying such a raft, he would just punch it once and smash it into oblivion rather than tear it apart and like kick it.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
not like a not like in such a petty way, I guess, you know?
yeah, and I'll once again explain it a little later, but he would also physically punch Luffy as well in such a circumstance.
Oh yeah. Oh jeez. God, punching a baby over here, punching a kid.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
actually yes.
yikes. And that's kind of funny though. Okay. Okay.
And then so we get done with that flashback. I made a note. I would if it makes sense if it's just going to be a repeat of the same things being said over and over again, I don't want to bring up like any of the camera shit anymore. It happens all the time in every episode where they're like super far in on people's faces and it's like distorted and it's really gross to look at and I
I
hate
don't,
it.
I don't know. I don't know if I got used to it at this point, or if I didn't, or if they didn't do it as much in this episode. Maybe I
Uh
just got used to it.
there were
I
scenes
don't
where
know.
it was like less evident, but once you've noticed it in the previous episodes, it's hard not to notice it, I think, in my case.
Okay.
But it's like
Okay.
after a certain
Okay.
point you've complained about it so many times, it's just like
It's like,
resignation.
yeah,
You should just
yeah,
resign yourself to the fate that this is just like the worst shot series on the
yeah.
planet.
Like this. This is how we're gonna do it. This is how it's gonna go. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
accept it.
So
But but yeah, I did. I mean, yeah. But if Garp's not really like that in the anime, then that is a weird change. I'm wondering why they wanted to go this route. That's kind of weird.
because they
But oh
wanted
yeah, the other thing.
they wanted to shoehorn Garp into the plot, and it frustrates me so much. They wanted to
Yeah.
shoehorn him in, but there was no good like reason to, so they had to come up
Let me.
with a reason to, and in
Uh,
doing so, they fucked up his character.
they make him the worst like grandparent. Okay. And yeah, and I
Well,
was like, okay,
Garp
well,
is
I
not
can
exactly a
kind of.
good grandparent in the actual series either, but there's a lot more like going on, so to speak,
Mhm.
and there's a lot more that's entertaining. First of all, second of all, the the relationship between the two makes a lot more sense. Specifically in regards to their characteristics. Uh, there's more that's like evident
about the way that Garp acts and carries himself
Mhm.
in the actual series that is like indicative of what not only who he is but the relationship he has with Luffy than is the case in the live action.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say like, or what's in my notes is that like Luffy defying his like parental figure and following his own path is like very in line with who Luffy is. Luffy is like, this is who I am. You either take it or leave it. Like I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna follow my heart. Period. And so that's kind of how I took the scene, but like the
But
way you're describing it is kind of like
but here's the
there's better ways to do that.
But here's the thing. First of all, Garp actually does value that, and second of all, Luffy actually does take, um, among others, those characteristics from Garp. Garp is also a very free-spirited,
Okay.
selfish individual, just like Luffy is. And Luffy, he didn't decide to become a pirate out of like spite for his grandparent who raised him. He just wanted to be a pirate. And here's the thing: Garp did raise Luffy with the intent of having him become a marine. But when Luffy struck out on his own as a pirate, effectively from then on, Garp he effectively said laissez-faire.
Okay.
Because this is technically a little bit of a spoiler for how what happens when they meet up in the series. But Garp literally says, "I did not come here to arrest you," when he sees Luffy for the first time, and at that point, like a decade.
This is the journey we've been on for so long at this point in the live action.
Well, no, I mean like the gap between when Luffy meets him again in the series between when he last saw him, it was like something like 10 years, somewhere in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he straight up says, "I'm not here to arrest you. I'm just here to effectively meet you, and more importantly, to have Helmeppo and Kobe, who are working under him, meet up with Luffy and have a conversation with him." And on top of that, he even says, "I'll just make up an." He doesn't even say he will make up an excuse for why he didn't arrest Luffy. He says he says that he'll tell the fleet admiral of the Marines, "Well, he's my grandson, so I'm not gonna do it."
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is kind of funny.
So this is
Oh.
Yeah, it's just Ignatius. So this is completely different than how Garp acts in this show, where he goes out of his way to try and arrest Luffy, and then he says at the end it was like to teach him a lesson or what have you.
Like to kind of like prove his worth, like prove your worth, boy. Like,
yes,
like, show me what you really got. Show me that this is the path you really want to take in life. You know, it's kind of Garp's thing.
And what strikes me is super weird about all of this as well is that it really is, when you look at it, it really is taking something that happens at this much later point in the series, alongside a cover story that also occurs at a later point in the series, and taking these things and inserting them into the East Blue where they don't belong, where they don't make sense to have happen. There's like a variety of reasons you could like guess as to why they would do that, but it's quite frankly silly to dedicate so much time to something that happens so much later, that is injected where it doesn't belong.
Yeah. I do agree with that, because like we talked about for the past few episodes, like Garp being in here is just like, way, you know. And now that you're telling me all this about Garp's reunion and like who Garp really is like as a person, it just seems even more way.
Yeah. And here's some other things about the Garp meetup in the actual series. First of all, something that happens is this is like post a conflict when Luffy and the rest of them are like injured and recuperating, among other things happening. And he walks up to the house that they're staying at, and as opposed to opening the door, he punches down a wall, which is a
Jeez.
very manga Luffy thing to do, evidently not a very live action Luffy thing to do.
Yeah,
and
right.
he tells his Marines, and this is also just really excellent because it's so funny. He tells the Marines asked him why he punched his subordinates asked him why he punched down the wall, and he's like, because it's a cooler entrance to do it that way. Now you guys have to go repair the wall. And they're like, you should take some responsibility for this. You should repair it with us. And he's like, what? Okay. And so
Oh my gosh.
and so he starts repairing the wall with them while he's having like a conversation about lore building with the Straw Hats.
Oh wow, that's so funny.
Yeah. And so you have this completely non-hostile environment for when the two meet up. Second of all, it's very humorous. Third of all, you don't have the Straw Hats being overly concerned and questioning of like the relationship between Luffy and Garp, and him not telling them that his grandfather was a Marine, because Garp diffuses any tension super quickly by just being a chuckle fuck.
Yeah.
So he punches down the wall. Luffy is sleeping, and he walks over to Luffy and he punches Luffy awake. And then he goes to, there's like some kind of dialogue back and forth, and he goes to punch Luffy some more to beat some sense into him, and they both fall asleep while Garp is punching him. And so
Oh my god.
Yeah, so
chaotic.
Yeah, it's super chaotic, and it's doing all of these things to not only because it's funny, but also to explicitly show you how Luffy has taken after Garp, even though their occupations are at odds with each other.
Yeah.
There's also this has just gotten me like talking about the regular ass One Piece series and how good it is, and I was, while I was rewatching this set of scenes with Garp in it, I was also thinking about like how interesting the monkey family is, just like in general, the three of them, Garp, Dragon, and Luffy. But that's a tale for a different time.
Well, what about Ace too? Well, I guess like Ace is like is he like
Ace
a different kind of brother?
Ace,
different kind of brother?
So Ace's full name is Portgas D. Ace. He is not actually he is not Luffy's blood brother. He is not Garp's grandchild.
Oh, okay. Got it.
They are bonded brothers.
Brother from another mother. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
That is also a tale for a different time.
Okay.
That
I'm excited.
One that'll be,
because I love it. And that makes sense because Ace is like a different personality than Luffy.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah,
Ace,
you know.
Ace has a mostly different personality, but he also shares some characteristics that he also picked up from Garp, such as like how voracious he is and how he sleeps when he's eating. Like Ace is different. In a way that is noticeable, since he's not blood related to them, but also he picked up on characteristics from Garp because he was also raised by Garp.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's all of it is super
baby.
interesting, dude. One Piece is
a lot more interesting than that.
One Piece is so good.
One Piece is so good, bro. What happened, bro?
Man.
What happened? Here we are, though.
And the complaints with this comparison don't stop coming, because one of the other things that one of the things that they did in the live action that was meant to service as a direct reference to that meetup that happens later in the series was when Garp threw a cannonball at the ship as they were fleeing. And
I thought that was kind of funny.
It's a cool idea, but it's even cooler when you do it right.
Okay.
Because it does not come across as all that intimidating the way that the live action does it, because he only throws one cannonball that is normal sized at a speed comparable to a normal cannon.
Mm-hmm.
In One Piece,
he's so buff, bro. So handsome. Come on now. And then he doesn't he take off his coat and he
Yes, he does that in One Piece too, except his chest is 30 times bigger.
Yeah.
So what he does in the actual series is he doesn't just throw one; he throws 1,000 of them.
Oh my god!
Yes, he tells his subordinates, bring 1,000 cannonballs up to the stern of this ship for me to throw at my grandchild. And
at my grandchild.
Yes, and
yikes!
And
I don't know. That sounds like a Mexican family.
And it is not only effectively, although sort of subtly shown in the animation, but it is also explicitly stated that he is throwing those cannonballs much faster than a cannon shoots them.
Oh, okay. So,
and
yeah,
then,
they come in fast.
And then on top of that, because it's One Piece, it has no sense. It deliberately has no care for scale, and physically making things make sense. He pulls out a cannonball the size of their ship to throw at the Straw Hats. He throws a
Shut up.
He throws a cannonball that is actually bigger than the ship they are sailing on. And at that point in time, that ship is bigger than the Going Merry.
That's wild, bro.
If I remember correctly, the cannonball that he throws is quite close to the same size as his Marine battleship, those things are massive.
Okay, yes. Garp, I see you, bro.
So the live action. And you could say that this is really the case for all of its strong characters that it shows. But it's particularly evident when you have a direct comparison like this. It completely fails to adequately demonstrate how strong and intimidating of a figure Garp is when in comparison he's not even really doing anything all that impressive. Most characters in One Piece could throw a single cannonball at a ship.
No problem.
Probably.
Yeah.
At least by the time you get into the Grand Line. So it's not really that impressive. And this is the guy who's supposed to be the hero of the Marines, world renowned, one of the strongest dudes in the ocean, basically. And he just throws one cannonball. It gets reflected by Luffy's belly and hits a mast, and he just gives up. Here's the other thing that doesn't make sense about it to me.
Yeah, is that they go off into the fog, right? Or they use the fog basically to their advantage, and then that's it. That's it. You know?
Yeah. Before they even go off into the fog, like I said before, he throws literally 1,000 of them at the Straw Hats in the actual series, and it especially gets me because even if your mast gets destroyed, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to stop throwing cannonballs. And he just gives up after he throws one and it gets reflected back into his mast.
He didn't need enough of those pirate lunches, those box lunches.
He didn't need a pirate lunch that day.
That was a problem.
He was still feeling the after effects of failing to break the donut eating record.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I thought that was. I'm like, man, you sail all the way out here to get your grandkid, and you give up this quick. Okay, must guess you don't really love your grandkid that much, but okay. Okay.
Yeah, like so much of early showings of Garp are supposed to be that of spectacle and comedy for a
Mhm.
reason. He is so much stronger than everybody else that you cannot demonstrate that gap without doing it with some kind of spectacle. And he's a silly guy because Luffy's a silly guy, so of course Garp's a silly guy. Um, but all of that is
Yeah.
just most of, if not all of that, is stripped away in the live action. He's a lot more like dour and serious, and not
He's
silly.
definitely the kind of like white granddad you kind of see around, you know.
It's
Saying.
like
No offense to the white granddads out there, but
I mean, he is very Scottish, Irish, whatever the accent that is.
because I don't know the Mexican grandpas. I mean, they're funny. They're a lot more lighthearted. I don't know.
Yes.
Just saying.
It's like the main characteristic that he retains from the series, the actual series, is just that he eats a lot and that you can see him eating whole steaks. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah, and then you send a warlord after your grandchild after giving up once. That's another thing.
yeah, he says gives. I I'll talk about that later. That is there's a
Okay.
lot there's a few reasons
Okay.
why that's stupid.
Okay.
So also when Luffy reflects the cannonball back into the mast of Garp's ship, and it explodes on the mast, that was an incredibly fake, cheap explosion special effect. It hurt me to look
A
at
little
that
bit.
because it was
A little.
so bad. And on top of that, it was so bad and so glaringly obviously bad that it made it obvious that the ship they were standing on was also CG.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yes. There's a few different ways that you can tell. One of the definitely most significant ones, though, is like the proportions between the people standing on the ship and the ship itself. Based on those proportions, the people on the ship might as well have been on like like a personal jet boat or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like something not very big because if that were meant to be the size of an actual battleship, they would be gigantic people. They would be like 20 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
If not
Okay.
taller. It was the sizing was awful. It also didn't like fit in well with the water in the background. And I encourage anybody who listens to this to go and like take a look at a screenshot of that shot of like the explosion happening in the ship, and you'll see it's pretty bad how cheap it was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect the effects to be super impressive, but you also don't expect them to be like god awful, you know?
Yeah, I expect it. I expect it
To
to at
be
least
somewhat
be.
believable, you
Yeah, I
know?
expect it to be believable.
Yeah. I mean, there are I've seen like, worst shows
there,
that have
there
better
are.
special
I
effects.
mean, there are stock explosion special effects that would have looked better in that scene than the one they used. Probably.
Oh,
It was
probably
rough. It was rough.
you know, they just had to try it out for themselves, see
Yeah.
what happened.
Um,
Good for them, you know?
I will give one compliment in regards to the way Garp was written in this entire sequence, and that is that the process of him giving up, even if him giving up that soon was stupid, it actually
was genuinely some of the most interesting character development the show has had up to that point, in which he like yells in frustration before transitioning into a manic laughter,
Oh yeah. Thought
demonstrating
that
a
was great.
level
He
of
did
like
such a great job.
and it could be a multitude of things or a mixture of emotions like pride in his grandson or excitement at somebody getting away from him, of being challenged, even though it wouldn't be a challenge because realistically he could actually just jump from his ship to their ship if he really felt like it. This is something that Garp very much can do, is jump from one ship to another ship.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as like that kind of like manic frustration you can kind of get sometimes. Like at being like one upped, you know.
But there's like so many different like elements of what's at play that indicate that could implicate his emotion to be a multitude of different things, and that's interesting. That's good writing. That's good acting. That's you are.
And he's a great actor. I mean, this I can't. I wish I could remember this actor's name. I didn't write it down, but he's been in so many movies. He's been acting for a very long time. He's a great actor. If you just give him a good script, you know, give that man something good to do. He will do a good job.
Well, let's move away from Garp, at least momentarily, to talk about how Luffy didn't know that he could do his Gomu Gomu no balloon.
Oh,
That he didn't
yeah.
know the Gomu Gomu no, that he didn't name the Gomu Gomu no balloon in this
Yeah,
in the
they're like,
live action.
you didn't. Yeah,
Because
you
he
didn't
didn't
tell
know
me
he
you could
could
do that.
do it.
I didn't know.
I'm just thinking to myself, this has to be the dumbest pair of lines in this episode, and it's certainly contesting for the dumbest pair of lines in the entire 8 episodes, the entire series.
I could probably think of worse, but I mean, if you insist.
It's just, it's so baffling. Like, on its own merits, it's like a bad line, maybe not the worst thing ever written, but like, it's just baffling that they would put that in there to begin with. Luffy has been a rubber person for like over 10 years at this point, actively training his like abilities and getting to know his body the entire time. The other Straw Hats know that he's made of rubber, so anytime he does something that involves his rubber powers, it shouldn't be all that surprising to them.
Well, and they've only been together for like a short while, right? So it's not like they know all of his techniques. So
no, but like, why would it be? Why didn't you tell me that you could do this? I don't like. Does it matter all that? Even if he knew he could do it, would it matter all that much that he could do it? Like, how would that have impacted any of their like previous circumstances or conversations or anything? I don't understand that. I don't understand why he wouldn't know that he could puff up his body like a balloon, and reflect a cannonball. Like, this is a core. On top of that, even for things that Luffy himself is not aware that he could do in the series proper before he like attempts to do them and tries to do them, he doesn't follow that up with being like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or what have you. Because in the actual series, it's him going through the process of like active experimentation and creativity in his battles. So when he tries something new, it's not a perspective of like something spontaneously happened and it was like, whoa, that just happened. It's him actively, it's him trying to do things to see what works, and it's like the way that they wrote the line just like doesn't mesh with the way that he presents himself in his fighting in the actual series.
I can see where you're going. Yeah, that does make sense. And I don't know, like, this is gonna sound super petty, but like the way they animated it, not animated, well, whatever, the special effects they used. Um, to like make his stomach like kind of ripple. I was like, "Huh?" Like I don't know, it just kind of gave me a bit of the ick.
It was a bit odd. I don't want to harp too much on like the rubber body animation because that's something that's very far from easy to make look decent. And it's really convenient to do it in animation where they can just have him puff his body in like 2
Yeah.
frames and
Yeah.
just be perfectly round and it'll look totally natural.
Yeah, I guess.
So I don't want to harp on that like too much, but I mean it is fair. It did not look all that great.
Yeah, but I get the ick pretty often about things, so you know that's just me. I get the ick.
Yeah.
So.
I do want to underscore though again, and hopefully for the last time, I'll have to underscore this. When I talk about how the characters are different in the live action from how they are in the series, I am perfectly understanding of the fact that sometimes you have to like change some things around and make some alterations when you adapt things from one medium to another medium. But when you do that, you are still retaining the plot and the characters and the themes of the series. The live action One Piece does not do those things. It does.
Yeah.
It is not an adaptation. It is effectively its own work. It might as well be independent of One Piece, but using the names and the set pieces and the designs of One Piece characters.
Yeah, and
So,
this is it's I gotta go off on a little tangent, so finish.
okay, so making complaints about how the characters are different from each other is valid because it's not just a matter of them adapting the material into its new format. It is them literally changing the material.
Mm-hmm.
And in a worse way. So what's your pop off?
Yeah, so you know that new BL that came out, Cherry Magic, that I've been talking to you about.
This is a weird
Well,
transition, but okay.
Okay, but there's a live action, okay, and the live action has been out for like a few years now, so I went ahead and watched it since I've read the manga already, and what the live action does is it changes a few characters around. It adds in different plot points here and there. It you know it adds in different scenes to change things up a little bit, but it doesn't ever change the characters to make them totally different people. It doesn't ever change change up the dialogue to make it feel like super uncomfortable, like, and you're like, who is this person? I don't know who this person is. It doesn't match the original character. It doesn't lose the heart of the series. And with so I was like, okay, well, so not all live action does this. It's just One Piece. Okay. Just One Piece that did this.
I haven't really watched any Japanese live action, but through my osmosis of learning of Japanese live action, regardless of whether or not they're good, they are a lot more faithful to the material that they are adapting. Between like the Full Metal Alchemist live action and there was another the Attack on Titan live action. I think it was a movie. Even if those things look goofy as shit in live action, they are still they're still recognizably those things in terms of like the writing. Whereas the One Piece live action, again, it is basically only carrying over the proper nouns and the designs.
Yeah, so I was just really surprised that this one was like nothing, just a totally different live action. It was so refreshing seeing a live action, adapted from manga and anime, being like totally faithful to the characters, to the idea, to the manga, to it was just great. It was 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. So that's my little thing. Is like we could have done better. We could have done better.
We could have done so much
But
better.
we chose not
just
to.
Fucking, just fucking cut Garp out. You
It,
cut Garp
literally,
out, and it forces you
literally.
to keep so many more things that matter that you cut out for Garp.
And Helmeppo and Kobe, I'm sorry, you could have had like you could have stuck them in just a little bit. They didn't have to be in my face all this time. I'm tired of them, like this scene. Like I wrote down some notes about them, and like I'm over it. You know,
Over it. So that is actually another thing. I guess it doesn't matter so much now as it will in episode 8, but it's worth mentioning now that it's on my brain. Like I said before, that meeting with Garp that comes later in the series, Kobe and Helmeppo are involved with that. And one of the important aspects of having that meeting come then, as opposed to earlier, is that it's because Helmeppo and Kobe, specifically Kobe, because nobody gives a shit about Helmeppo.
of course not.
Yeah. Undergo a transformation of like person, both in terms of their like
He gets a little childlike. I've seen.
ideals, but
You know?
but also physically they do physically change as well. And so part of the point of having that meeting come later is to demonstrate the growth that Kobe acquired independently of Luffy to Luffy. Instead, what the live action is doing is it is having Kobe undergo that growth simultaneously as he is interacting with Luffy. So it's you're not getting this thing where Luffy will come back and see Kobe sometime later and he'll be like an entirely new person. And so you're completely missing the point of why that yet another one of the points as to why that happens later in the series as opposed to at the beginning.
You get to see you get to see Kobe grow up, versus now we're seeing him grow up when we're seeing him transition, which I have complaints about that scene, but whatever,
Yes.
we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, it's almost like the world of One Piece is designed so that it like evolves and changes outside of the direct influence of the Straw Hat crew. And part of what the manga does is it will explore some of what happens, sometimes as like completely separate side stories, but also in terms of how the Straw Hats directly then come across changes that happened over the period of time in which they weren't directly involved in things. If that made sense. Anyways.
Yeah. I got you.
Anyways, the convenient fog is like really convenient for escaping. It's like just a supremely convenient plot device. Super silly. In addition to the fact that it makes the Baratier seem like it's significantly closer to the Syrup Islands than it actually is. Like one of the things that is really weird about the live action in particular is it makes the East Blue seem significantly smaller than it's supposed to be. Because if you think about it, on the Grand Line, you may not have seen much of this, but you have a decent idea. It seems like there are a lot of islands for the amount of, how do I want to put this? They're still on the sea for quite lengthy periods of time. And yet there's still a lot of islands within the space that is the Grand Line. So that indicates that the Grand Line is like a pretty large stretch of ocean, even because if it has a lot of distance and a lot of water distance between its islands, but still has a lot of islands. The East Blue is supposed to effectively dwarf the Grand Line in size. It's just significantly more massive, and I would imagine a lot of its islands would subsequently be more spread out, or at least as spread out as they are in the Grand Line.
and that just you just don't get that sensation in the live action.
Yeah, at least in the anime. How I kind of felt when first watching the anime up until this point is like, man, everything is like really, it feels like super far away from each other, and like you do have to sail. It feels like you have to sail a pretty great distance to get to where you need to go.
Yeah, they spent some pretty hefty amounts of time
Yeah.
in the ocean on the East Blue.
Yeah, and like you said here, it's like everything's like A, B, C.
Yeah,
So
I would say, especially in regards to the islands where Seer Village is on, the Baratier, and the islands where Kokoyashi Village is, which I think are called the Konomi Islands,
mhm.
as they are name dropped in the live action, because it's literally the Seer Village Islands are. They would have to be within a couple of days of the Baratier, because Garp says that when he calls up Mihawk, that they only got like a couple of days away from him in their sailing. And then on the Baratier, when Zoro gets injured, Zeph says that the nearest doctor is on the Konomi Islands, which are a couple of days away. So it seems like really close together.
Yeah, definitely. Makes it seem like that.
Yeah. It's not like they
But
have fucking
plot
planes and
convenience.
it's not like they have planes and steam engines that would let you traverse these islands like super quickly. Even if their ship is like pretty light and quick, they're still using sailing technology. So it's still gonna not exactly the shortest trip between these
Yeah,
places. Or at least it shouldn't be the shortest trip between these places.
still gonna take a bit to get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
So quite a bit. So
Yeah.
don't let the live action fool you, basically.
Yes. So I did that note. So they get to the Baratier. I had no complaints about any of the like dialogue that they had during the in the mist. I like tried to have a complaint about I
What a negative Nancy, bro.
yes. I tried to have a complaint in regards to like how the three of Zoro, Nami, and Usopp were reacting to the grandpa thing, and telling Zoro to ask Luffy about it, and Luffy doesn't say anything. He's like, "Oh well." And
Mm.
I tried to have a complaint about it because like something about it like rubbed me off. Then I thought about it and I was like, but at the same time, it's not as though it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and to me, it's just like men who aren't in touch with their feelings trying to communicate with each other, which is fine.
Well, here's the thing that I don't so
Men
much
don't know how to communicate their feelings, basically.
I don't so much care about whether or not it's a bad thing that like they don't say anything to each other or what have you. I was more
Yeah, I
so
don't think it's a bad
thinking,
thing.
yeah, I was more so thinking in relation to the actual series and like how
Yeah,
the
yeah.
characters are written, and then also whether or not it was bad writing within the scene. And I was like, well, it's not that bad. I don't think I have anything particular. I don't think I have any bad to say about it, even though it kind of felt like I should.
I mean, I thought it was cute, and it was actually funny. I thought this was funny. You know, just watching two men trying to awkwardly communicate. And Zora's like, he don't want to tell me. He don't want to tell me. Okay, there you go. He said he's fine. He's fine. Whatever. Leave. Don't bother me.
One thing I definitely appreciated was that the Baratier felt a whole lot more like lived in and active of a
Yes.
restaurant. That was a lot more fun and cool to see.
Yeah, it was and that's what I kind of said in my notes was that I thought it was lovely. Okay. The
That is, of anything in the live action, I think that is an improvement.
Oh yeah.
Just like the set piece of the Baratier and how it's
It
like shown is an improvement.
it definitely feels like it felt I got this wave of nostalgia watching it because I used to work at this 5-star restaurant. And it was just like this wave of nostalgia. It definitely feels like a high-end kind of place that you would go to enjoy a nice meal. You got live, it seemed like you had live music there. You
Well, I
had
don't know
outside
about live,
dining,
but they had club music, that's for sure.
club music. Well, it was kind of jazzy too. So I was like, maybe they have live music there. But see, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
And and I love that they had like a top part of the ship, so you could also seat on the top. And I just thought it was great. And like the silverware was really nice, the tableware was nice. Um and I did like that they tried to inc- incorporate like different kinds of people eating there as well. So you kind of get to see the different kind of like pirates that are there as well.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, they do better demonstrate the types of people that eat at the restaurant, but at the cost of not saying anything about the cooks, which is like the actual
Yes.
important thing
I'm
that the
like,
arc
where's
wanted to focus
Patty?
on. Well,
I
Patty
want to
was
see
there, but he
Patty.
wasn't. He
Wasn't
wasn't.
there.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't the same Patty. He was missing some bits of characterization, which is like fine in a vacuum. But the bigger issue is that they did not do anything at all to characterize the cooks of the restaurant as being these rough
Yeah.
individuals who will fight anybody who's fucking around in their restaurant.
Yeah, because if you know some line cooks, the line cooks, you got to be tough. You got to be
Well, more
I mean,
so.
you have to line cooks are scary basically. I don't want to mess with the line cook, okay?
Well,
They always scare the crap out of me. And so like to see the line cooks in the anime, I was like again, like this wave of nostalgia. Like,
yes.
these are
I
the
mean,
kind of people that are cooking on the line, like you love it.
more so than that. Like the chefs in the actual series they're it's gone out of its way to characterize them as like ne'er do wells who couldn't find a job doing what they loved because they
Yeah.
would always get kicked out of other restaurants for their
Establishments, yeah.
for their attitudes, and that in the way that it's shown, and the way that like events unfold at the Baratier gets you endeared to those chefs, so that when the restaurant starts it is like under attack and starts being damaged, and all the chefs are like fighting for
Mhm.
are putting their lives on the line for the
To
sake
save
of,
the Baratier, you
yeah,
know?
to keep the restaurant in business, and their loyalty towards Zeph. Like it builds up to that point by just tossing in some spicy lines of dialogue here and there about how like they couldn't get hired in other places, like I mentioned, and how much the Baratier means to them. Um,
Yeah. And
and by
and
showing
also
more than one of them yelling at each other in the kitchen. Because only
yeah,
Patty gets a line in the live action.
that's it. Everybody else is just background, which of course is just like with every line cook in life, like
Yeah.
they're just in the background kind of
The other
chilling.
ones may not
But
have had that fancy of designs in the actual series, but they were
mm,
still there yelling at each other.
yeah. And this is my thing is it's just like with the live action is that there is no community, and this is the one thing that I will gripe about is that where is the community? I want the community. Like
Yeah.
One Piece's anime has a very lived in community. The
Yes.
villages are lived in,
One Piece
you know.
thrives on
Yes.
community. It's
And
just
and there is none. It's just focused on the Straw Hats.
there's
And like I understand, but it's just like it's not One Piece. It's not One Piece.
there's like this very consistent um structure, you could say, to the arcs that Oda creates in One Piece, and that he starts by like showing you the setting, and then he gets you like personally involved and invested with the people living in that setting, and then it has the conflict, so that and then throughout the conflict, like bad things will happen to those people like periodically, and you'll be
Mhm.
like, no, they were such
Yeah.
cool people. And
Like what are we gonna do? Like and just
it's one of the many reasons why One Piece is so beloved and so good as a story, is because it makes you care not just about its main characters, but about the people that the main characters are helping. In
yeah,
most cases, the arcs are fundamentally more about those people than they are about the main characters.
right. That the main characters just kind of like pop up into their lives, and
Yeah.
you know,
The main characters have like personal arcs within those stories, but those stories are explicitly about the people living in that particular place.
yeah, yeah. So it was just sad, and like when I first watched it, I felt this way, and then watching it again, just kind of it really just hurt all over again. Especially like working at a
Yeah,
restaurant for so many years, like I don't know, like I just felt so attached to the community at the Baratier, and I don't know,
yeah,
just
it
hurts.
just doesn't give you any reason to care about the Baratier itself.
Yeah,
Which in turn gives you less of a reason to care about Zeph and Sanji.
yeah, and two, like at the end of at the end of the anime, when like Sanji's leaving, like all the line cooks are like they're all crying because like they all want the best for Sanji, but
And you cry with them
Sanji's
because you saw the line kicks like fucking around with each other, and they did the thing with the soup where it tasted like
hmm
shit, but it was actually the most delicious soup they ever had.
man, and then they're crying because Sanji's leaving. They're like, men don't cry when somebody says goodbye, and man, and it was just it felt so good because you've been on this journey with them, with this
Yes.
community, with
Yeah.
this bubble, and then just
You got to
leave.
personally understand why they care so much about Sanji, and why all of them, including Sanji, care so much about Zeph. It's just
Yeah.
so good, and you just get fucking none of that. And some of the reason for that is some of the reason they cut that is because they also entirely cut like everything with Don Krieg. Because when you cut
That's right.
everything with Don Krieg, it means that all of that other stuff doesn't matter nearly as much because there's no
Mhm.
conflict to resolve there.
Yeah, there's no conflict at the Baratier, and then yeah.
It like really in retrospect makes the 2 episodes that they dedicate to the Baratier feel like
Feels shallow.
in shallow, sure, but what I was gonna say is in comparison to most of the rest of the episodes, they actually feel rather vapid and empty. Like
Right.
there's just
Right.
like, from a very literal point of analysis, there's just like not a lot that happens. Um
Mhm.
as compared to the other episodes that feel like, even though there's a
Yeah.
significant amount of problems with them, they're like denser with things that happen.
Yeah. And I whenever you messaged me that earlier today, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like watching it, I was like, "That's it, that's it."
Yeah.
Like there's not anything else. Okay. It just felt like there were things happening, but they just were not that important. How else to explain it? It just didn't feel there's much depth to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like that bridge, but it didn't even feel like a bridge. I would say I don't know.
Uh, and I guess it does make more sense to talk about it in this episode, how cutting out Don Krieg also means you miss out on like uh i- basically all of the things that we talked about in our episode about the Baratier. Which is Luffy, what it means to be a pirate to Luffy, Luffy's indomitable will, and all of
And
the
and
shit
my
with
thing
regards
was,
to feeding people who are hungry. Like it's so much more
well,
shallow.
I mean that's in there a little bit, but
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
live
but
action, but it's there for like a millisecond. It doesn't hit as hard. It shows that Sanji's a good
the reason
person,
it doesn't
but
hit it, yeah, the reason it doesn't hit as hard is because what the way that they set it up in the actual series is Sanji is feeding somebody who is known to be a
he's wanted, right?
commander of a pirate crew who like is known to be bad.
Mhm.
Is known to be like aggressive or whatever. And Sanji fed that person despite that, and then it came around and bit everybody at the Baratier in the ass.
Yeah.
Even though in the process of biting him in the ass, it also technically saved Sanji's life with the poison gas thing. And so, like, it's missing out on these, like, several layers of it, like, coming around full circle thematically. And why you get in episode 6 the backstory of why Sanji will feed anybody that's hungry, but you don't get the like full circle resolution of it like mattering. Like it doesn't matter that he feeds anybody who's hungry, because
And when
nothing
anybody
comes
is
of it.
anybody,
Yeah, and that scene in which he feeds Geen consequently comes across as really shallow and as a means to just dump exposition on you because it doesn't go anywhere beyond that. It's like
literally nowhere.
yeah, it's like without the comparison to the original series, it's not that bad of a scene. It's actually like pretty diegetic exposition in addition to like demonstrating to you an important character trait of Sanji. But when you go to the original series and you realize it does so much more with that concept than the live action does, and you're like, why did you even bother putting it in there if you weren't going to do more with it?
Right. Because it feels awkward. I mean, like Luffy's like, oh, you're a really nice person. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? No. Okay.
You're a good fighter.
He's a good fighter. Okay.
This is the most that I've like allowed jumping around and like timestamps in the episodes. We gotta backtrack.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah, let's roll it back. I wrote down, I wonder what it would be like if they casted Gordon Ramsay as Sanji. That's like just an open-ended question. I don't have an answer to that. It's a stupid question. But I saw him cooking the fancy meal and I was like, what if they had Gordon Ramsay doing that?
Look, no, because then we wouldn't get Taz Skylar. Taz Skylar is a literal Chad. I didn't think he was that cute. Honestly, didn't think he was that cute because of that god-awful wig they put on him. I didn't think it was a wig at first. But then I saw he has a little bit of receding hairline, the actor. So I'm like, okay, it was a wig. But it was a bad wig. The wig sucked and it made him look ugly.
It's not a bad wig if you didn't think it was a wig.
Okay, but it made him look ugly is the point. The hair made him look ugly, okay?
Yeah.
So no, let's keep Taz Skylar as Sanji. Taz Skylar is beautiful. He's perfect. He's so handsome. I love him.
Imagine if he went the extra mile to have his eyebrows stylized into curls.
No, because the wig was enough. Okay, the bad wig was enough. Leave the man alone.
See, you don't know this, but actually, the curly brows is technically important.
Oh.
I won't. I will not elaborate.
Man, of course you won't. Of course.
And by the time you get to that point, you'll be long forgotten.
Of course, yeah, definitely. But definitely forgotten. But one thing that I wanted to say, I'm trying to find the screenshot, but I don't know if I have it on my iPad. but I think I remember it. So the voice actor, the Japanese voice actor for Sanji in the anime, really liked Taz Skylar. He did like his portrayal of Sanji in the live action, and that he
Sanji was solidly done overall, I would say.
I
Especially
didn't think
from
so
an
at first.
especially from an acting perspective, I think he's pretty solidly done.
Yeah, I didn't think so at first, but after
Oh,
again, he kind of grew on me.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Sanji is pretty. He certainly is significantly better than Zolo.
Much
Um,
better. And McKinney's pretty hot, so like, I'm not so it's not the hotness of Taz Skylar that's making me say he's
Yeah.
a wonderful, Sanji, because McKinney's super hot and he did terrible. No, it was the script. It was the script. It's not McKinney's
yes,
beautiful and
it's
perfect. It was
yeah.
the script.
Like yeah,
Anyways,
who said it? You like that's actually a pretty good example of demonstrating how the script is the issue here. Because when the script was good for Sanji, the acting was pretty solid. When the script is terrible for Zolo, the acting is pretty nuts. And actually, you can even see in this episode, the script was at times good for Zolo. He had some like good lines in there, some good interactions, and the acting was fine.
yeah,
But like,
yeah.
it's just fucking scripts holds him back
I,
so much.
yeah, I wonder what the big difference was. Like who was in charge of the script writing for this episode? Who knows?
Somebody who doesn't know how to write. Oh wait, sorry for this particular episode.
Yeah, for
Somebody,
this
sorry,
particular
somebody
episode.
who does know how to write for this particular episode. Somebody who doesn't for the rest of the series.
Somebody who really loved the Baratier just said, "No, let me handle this one." Okay,
Yes.
guys, I got this.
But he was still told that he can't include Krieg.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, the voice actor for Sanji is Hirati, I think is how you say it. I don't know. But yeah, he jokingly introduced himself as Skylar from the live action series at a like for an interview. So I thought that was
Nami
cute.
Swan!
Only he did that and he did it for Taz Skylar. I want to hear him do that. I want to hear him say Taz Skylar in that voice. That would be perfect. But anyways, I just thought it was cute that he liked Taz Skylar's portrayal. So yeah.
Yeah.
Little full circle moment there from the anime to the live action. Yeah,
So-
and I even like the suit they put on Sanji as well. It was a very nice suit that they put on him. I would like to know what brand that suit was. This looked expensive. So yeah, so props on costume. Props on costume. Except the god awful hair. You could have done better.
So another thing that is just like bad characterization for the Baratie and for Sanji, is like everything in regards to the waiters, just like the waitering in general in the live action, because first of all, Sanji, when he is a waiter, isn't disrespecting his customers who are trying to like who then gets like so pissed off he wants to like ruin the restaurant, and then Sanji just continues disrespecting him anyways. Like
Yeah.
that's good characterization for Sanji, where he's like, I don't give a shit, this food is good, eat it or fuck off.
Yeah, pretty much. And and I liked in the anime where Sanji is like, oh, like, oh, you thought we were gonna bring out this wine? Well, like, tough. We brought out this other one. But of
Yeah.
course, like they have full body in the live action for like all of 5 seconds, which I guess is fine. But like,
I mean, he's not like much of like a character, so to speak, in the actual series. So it doesn't necessarily matter who gets put in his role, but I would say the events are, if not necessarily important, like useful for characterizing Sanji.
yeah,
And so additionally,
so originally Sanji was put as a waiter because all of their waiters had quit like the previous day. But in this case, they still have waiters. So it's further stripping away characterization from the Baratier in regards to it being not only run by rough and tumble people, but also a place that serves rough and tumble people like pirates as well. It's like the live action only ever attempts at implicitly telling you that the Baratier serves all types of people, rather than doing it a little bit more explicitly in having conversations about how the waiters were scared off about how fights would break out frequently in this place because we also serve pirates and because our cooks fight said pirates.
Yeah, it wasn't it a thing that like people like go and like eat there to kind of like watch the fights or hoping a fight would break out?
Yeah, that was another thing too. Is like part of the entertainment is watching the fighting cooks fight pirates.
Yeah, when here it feels like a very classy like
I wouldn't say classy, but it feels like a pretty like typical restaurant.
Yeah, it feels like a nice establishment. Not, to enjoy a meal, not to enjoy a couple brawls,
And it's just like sucking characterization away. This is what it is.
Yeah, basically. Which is kind of a bummer, but what I saw from this scene of like Sanji interacting with like Full Body and like the other pirate was that you still kind of get to see his fiery personality. Which I did like. It's done in a different way, but you still kind of get to see that
he was being super polite to those guys in regards to Sanji. Like, it is totally different from how he acted to Full Body in the original series.
It was more like aggressive, with like in the anime, I would say.
Yeah, in this one he was like, please calm down, I'll give you some muffins, don't try to shoot each other. Until he inevitably has to kick a gun
he's like, I'll give you, like, I'll serve you a drink or something like on the house.
He even offers them a free drink. Totally different than what Sanji would actually do. Because Sanji would actually say, if you're gonna be doing this kind of shit, get the fuck out of my restaurant.
And then we have the scene in the kitchen in the beginning where they're kind of like over like, no, like if you're going to cook this kind of food in my restaurant, like you can go wait tables, da-da-da. And, again, there's that little bit of fiery personality.
That's fine.
Of course, it's the aggression is toned down, but you still get to see a little bit of fire under Sanji's. But,
that scene was fine. I liked the writing of that scene. It was just a shame that it came as a consequence to... as a consequence of taking away the characterization in regards to the waiter stuff.
Okay, I'm trying to find the good within. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying my best.
It was a good scene. I liked how it characterized how Sanji likes to prepare like good meals, but like this is a restaurant. It's a shitty restaurant with shitty cooks. Not that was said in the anime, not in the live action, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think he does. Doesn't he say it in the restaurant? Or does he say it in the restaurant? Doesn't he say it in the live action? Like to Luffy's table?
What did he say to Luffy's
Yeah, I
table?
think so. Because I watched that scene again this morning.
Yeah.
I could have sworn he said that.
He says something to that effect.
Something
Yeah, he
along
actually
those
does. He does. He does. I'm just wrong. Good catch.
I know, I'm so smart.
Yeah. So, starting with this episode, the Straw Hats actually feel like they play off one another pretty decently. And again, this is in reference to them sitting around the table, like bantering with each other. And so here's where we get back to Garp. And so Garp is like, Garp gets told that the repairs on the mast are gonna take like a couple of days. And so he's like, that in that 2 days we'll lose track of Luffy.
So I'm going to call somebody who could very well be on the other side of the world to get and expect him to get there within a couple of days to arrest Luffy. Why would there's no indication that Garp would have any inkling of an idea that Mihawk was in the East Blue. If anything,
yeah, because he says on the phone, like on the snail phone, like, oh, did I catch you in the middle of something? So he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, if anything, there's indication to think that he doesn't know where Mihawk is. So, like, why? on the one hand, given the plot of the series, I can understand him choosing to call Mihawk.
Yeah.
It's still stupid in a variety of ways. But on the other hand, it's like extraordinarily coincidental that Mihawk just like happens to be in the area when he chooses to call Mihawk.
Coincidence.
But
man, Stephen John Ward, Mihawk, man, what a chat! I'm just getting my fill of hotties in this episode.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Mihawk just, like, permanently has a transponder snail in his ear because he didn't even, like, answer on any device whatsoever. He was just like, yo, what's up, Garp?
Is it like the little thing that Nami has?
Yeah, it goes
Remember she has a mini one that goes in her ear?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I glanced away at the moment, but I didn't see him, like, put one in his ear, which would indicate that he just...
for emergencies,
That's what I was gonna say. He just always has one in his ear? That seems a little ridiculous. What kind of an emergency is
He's on call, okay? He's on the job.
And yet he clearly expresses disdain for following orders. What kind of emergency or situation is the greatest swordsman of the world getting in that he should feel the need to be on call like that?
Okay. But where's he gonna put it? He's shirtless and he's got a coat on. Where's he gonna put it?
He's shirtless. I don't know, maybe on his little dinghy with like the candles and the crosses that doesn't get shown in the live action, even though it's like,
oh yeah, that's right.
Even though it's like a pretty like affecting moment in the anime of like seeing this just like dinghy drift in from the fog and Krieg is like shitting his pants and everybody's like, who the fuck why are you fucking shitting your pants? It's just a little dinghy with candles on it. Like it's pretty foreboding to just see like a giant cross lit by candles sailing in from the fog. Don't get any of that. He just like shows up at the bar next to Usopp and asks him about the Straw Hat crew. And it's like, wait, where did this come from?
I'm looking for directions, bro.
Yeah, I'm looking for directions.
But I don't know. Like I don't know. Mihawk's hot, so like I'm fine with it. You know, he can do whatever he wants. He can have a transponder snail in his ear for all I care. I don't care. I just want to look at him. He's handsome. I don't have any complaints about him in my notes. I have no complaints about him.
I mean, the complaints I have... Actually, that's not true. I do. As with all the characters, the complaints I have are plot-wise. Well, I don't have any problems with his characterization. I do have problems with how the plot works with him, though. Mm-hmm. Very silly.
Also, again... good costume, good makeup. I thought that again, costume and makeup's on point.
Yeah, they had good costume design for everybody.
Because they were killing me the last couple episodes with like the costumes. I don't know. I don't remember my particular complaints, but this episode they doing a good job. Okay. Oh, and Nami's curls. They did. I guess Nami's got a curling iron on the Going Merry. and she's got her makeup bag with her because like she's clearly got makeup on. Her curls are clearly done.
I mean, to be fair, if the actual series is anything to go by, she probably does have like a robust set of beauty equipment with her on the ship.
True, but like Nami comes across at least as not like a like she likes fashion, but like she comes across as also kind of like tomboyish. But anyways, that's
I
going
mean,
on another tangent.
you become a tomboy when you're on a sausage party of a ship of dudes like effectively competing to see how masculine they are half the time.
Oh yeah, I would have jumped ship ages ago. You go, Nami. Nami's a bigger woman than
she
I am, that's for sure.
she certainly gets brevity in starting with Chopper and then Robin. Like those two back to
Mhm.
back, it's like, oh thank God, it's not a manly man.
Thank the Lord. And then of course Vivi, for a
Oh
bit,
yeah,
Vivi's with her for a bit.
Vivi was also a bless, and Vivi came before Chopper. Vivi was like
Yeah, yeah.
her first gal pal on the ship, and when she started sailing with them, I think she straight up said, "I'm so happy that finally there's another woman on this ship."
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I thought that, and it looks like Nami has a little bit of a tan. I don't know if they made her makeup a little dark. They might have made her makeup
I think
just
it's you.
a smidge dark.
I thought I wasn't paying particular attention to people's like skin tones. But for the most part, I thought it was dirt. They deliberately like dirtied people up to make it look like they hadn't showered in quite some time because they're at fucking sea.
Okay, she couldn't take a bath, but she could curl her hair and put makeup on.
Anyways, when
Okay,
Mihawk slices
then
the ship,
I have more complaints. Okay, if it's dirt, then again, costume and makeup, I don't know what you screwed up. But anyways, continue.
maybe I'd have to take a second look at it. I mean, it is. I would not be surprised if it was something stupid like that, though. So when Mihawk slices
Oh
the ship
no.
in half, they play the Wilhelm scream, and I have to think to myself, why? You're literally asking me to not take your show seriously when you play the Wilhelm in the context like that in an incredibly obvious way. It is not the 70s, it is not the 80s, and it is not even was like all that
Hmm.
non if it was even used in a serious manner in the 90s, it certainly stopped being used in a serious manner after the 90s. Don't play the Wilhelm. It sounds really stupid nowadays. In
Are you talking about when it was
series,
through the transponder snell you could hear it?
no, like when he slices the ship in half, the people like fall off the ship because he gets sliced
Oh,
in half,
okay,
and
okay.
one of them screamed a Wilhelm, and it
Mm.
like wasn't even like audio mixed to be like quieter and less noticeable. It was just
Mhm.
it was very audibly distinct.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's right.
the Wilhelm screen, for as proliferated as it has been, does not sound like what a real person sounds like when they are screaming in terror or pain. So if you want me to take your series seriously, like with a serious tone, and not make it feel like a parody, then don't use the Wilhelm.
No,
Uh,
because yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly noticing that. I was just like, "Ooh, cool! They cut the ship in half."
I mean, it was pretty cool that you cut the ship in half. They did a good job with that. I was turned off
I
by the
mean,
Wilhelm though.
it looked pretty cool.
It
I
was
was
pretty
like,
sweet.
and because like in the anime, you're kind of like, okay, he cut a ship in half. Like, well, at least I don't know. In the anime, when I watched this
It
in
was
the anime, like, I
it
don't know. I
was
just didn't like Don Krieg. The Mihawk fight was
it
just kind
was
of like, meh,
it was
you
pretty
know.
impressive in the anime because it basically turned it made the surrounding area around the Baratier into rubber into rubble.
Rubber.
Yeah. Uh, Luffy
Mm,
awakened his devil fruit. No, it turned the surrounding area into rubble. Um
yeah, that's true.
floating rubble. And so it was kind of like uh still it was still pretty flashy when he did it then, especially since when he did it then it was cut into like three pieces too. Um, but
Mate.
but it is one of the quirks of live action when you do something that big of a spectacle and you do it well. It hits stronger because it like it's more tangible to our perception.
Yeah. And also, I think with the pacing of the anime, I was just kind of turned me off to the whole thing. I might have to rewatch the anime again, but I don't know. That's just the pacing was terrible. But anyways, that's with the anime.
Um,
But
yes.
but yeah, oh yeah, and then he cut Don Krieg's cannon bullet thingy in half. Was it?
Yeah. It was pretty. Yeah,
It wa-
he cut a bullet in half.
that was so
It
cool.
was pretty sweet. It was pretty good. One thing that wasn't good was Krieg's voice acting.
Oh God, yes. I
I
listened. I'm like, wait, let me rewind that because that was
I I
terrible.
I rewinded it a couple times specifically to try and determine if it actually was voice modulation that was causing it to be that way, because on first pass it sounds like incredibly distinct voice modulation, but I feel like after I listened to
No,
it a couple more
no.
times, it was more plausible that the person was capable of making his voice sound like that. uh
It sounded to me it was coming from the actor mostly, but
yeah, but either way it was just like, it just did not sound good.
it sounded like doo doo. It sounded like garbage. I was. What did he say? He was like, "Why are you after me?" or something like that. But it just sounds
Yes.
like,
Wait. It was like, what are you after me?
yeah.
Except it was worse than that, because that was like a Batman voice that I just did. Where where's Joker? Where's Joker? I'm the Batman.
Yeah.
Like that is better than the voice that was being done for Don Krieg.
God, it was awful. I was like, they're like, look, they told him, bro, you're only gonna be in this like scene for 5 seconds. You don't need to do a great
You
job.
don't need to
You don't
try.
even need to do a good job. You don't even do a good job. You're still gonna get paid. So
Yeah.
like,
We'll
do
do
what you
all of the
can.
costume. All you have to do is say the line and make it seem like you're emoting, and then we're good.
And then we're done, bro. Ugh,
Oh
God,
yeah, I was
it
gonna mention earlier, in regards to like full body appearing in the live action, one thing that it ticks me off a little bit is, granted, for like the majority of what we're talking about, we're comparing it to the original series because that's what it's adapted from, rather than like trying to unpack it on its own merits. But when you try to unpack it on its own merits, you also have to rectify with how choices like including full body in the way that they did doesn't make sense, because it that kind of stuff, including those specific like character designs, in the way that they're implemented, is as fan service. Only fans would recognize
it's a
that as
cameo,
Lieutenant.
basically.
Yeah, only fans would recognize that as Lieutenant Full Body, because his name never gets mentioned in the episode. Uh, so it you would ideally have this work as a standalone project, and yet it incorporates many things that are explicitly catering towards fans, and that
Mhm.
I don't think is. I mean, it's like fine to do that if your product is good, but the product is bad. So, like, now I can just make fun of it from every angle because it doesn't work from either.
It sucks. Yeah. And yeah, that is true. And I did like in anime how they were kind of like full body had this kind of like toxic masculinity, and just a little bit. And I don't know. I did like that whole kind of banter scene that they did. I liked what they did with him in the anime basically. Even though I didn't like full body. I liked what they did with him in the
Even though he
anime.
didn't do a whole lot.
And he didn't even do a whole lot. Yeah, exactly. And you're just like you said, you're just throwing them in here just for like a short cameo, basically, and
Yeah.
that's it. So yeah.
Uh, I thankfully already elaborated on why Don Krieg's death in this happening at this point in time is bad. Um,
Oh, but the voice acting that Stephen Ward does is for Mihawk. Yeah, I thought it was very I thought it was very good. I do like what he does with his voice. Just it just kind of sounds so exhausted, you know, like, oh, I can't believe you're having me do this, but okay, I guess I will.
Stop complimenting the series. We're supposed to be making fun of it.
Sorry, he's just so handsome. I just have to, okay? He's ah, I'm so sorry.
It's like
I'm being a simp, basically. I'm being a simp. I can't help it. Let me be a simp.
2/3 of these recordings basically consist of me complaining relentlessly about this series, and then half of the remaining third is you talking about how hot the actors are.
If I can enjoy one thing, I can enjoy, you know, hot men doing hot things, you know. So, you know, if you're gonna give me a bad series, at least give me good-looking actors, and they did that at least. So
And they delivered in making me wet.
basically, yes. So I will keep this up. Yes. Because you have Garp, and then you have Mihawk, and then you have McKenyu. All in one episode. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Not Helmeppo.
Oh, and then I forgot about Taz Skylar. Taz Skylar, I'm so sorry I forgot about you. Sorry, Sanji. And then you have him too. Like, it's great.
Not gonna say those words about Helmeppo. How dare you?
Oh, oops. Wow.
So I also
I mean,
know
Helmeppo's handsome. Just that wig, it just makes him. It just throws me off. You know, throws me off.
it's
the
the
game.
haircut.
It's a haircut. Yeah.
So I also noted that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this point in time for Nami to be like overly upset about what she's going about her past and what she's going to go through, or more specifically that she's so obviously like emoting it, because at this point in the story, what happens is that she sees the wanted poster of Arlong. She has like a flash of like
Concern.
like
Like
concern
recognition
or
almost.
yeah, but she acts as though nothing is wrong.
Yeah,
After that
like you
fact, to
barely
trick
notice
them.
it. You notice something's up, but it's not. You're probably like, oh, it's not too much of a concern. You know, when she's
Yeah,
actively making it a concern here. And
yeah.
I did write in my notes that they're trying to make her seem like worried and anxious, but instead it comes off almost as passive aggressive. I think that might be due to the script, but
I
I
mean,
don't
it
know.
was a
Just
little passive aggressive. I don't think
know.
I didn't get in enough to like complain about it from that angle, but it was a little passive aggressive.
And I'm just like, Nami's not passive aggressive. If anything, she's like openly aggressive.
And like, oh, they fucked up
So it's
shit.
just awkward here because then you like if you want her to be worried or anxious, okay, but like instead you have her come across as passive aggressive, which if you're watching this, okay, if you're watching this, you're probably well no, because some people watch this without watching the One Piece anime. So if you're like, so you're just probably wondering, like, yo, why is she so mad, bro? Like, man, just a
Yeah.
woman being passive aggressive. Like, what the heck? You know? So it's just like you're not like what the anime and manga does very well is that it gives you the information. It drops a hint here and there of Nami being concerned about the wanted poster a little bit, and then her saying she doesn't like pirates. So you can kind of see that maybe she's hiding something, right? But that's up for like the reader to decide. It's not like you know, the reader can pick up on it of what's going on, like what her intentions are.
Subtle.
But here it's just like it's giving you the wrong message, basically. The writing, the script is giving you the wrong message.
Yeah. And the thing I wrote down is that her betrayal should be like sudden and unexpected. To the audience, sure, but most notably to the other Straw Hats. It should be to them. It should be like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? Now our ship's gone. Well, she first of all doesn't even take their ship in this instance. Which I mean, I'll talk about like more about the betrayal later. In the next episode, I mean. But she like doesn't even take the ship, and it's like so incredibly obvious that it's coming, as well.
It's like, yeah, it's so obvious. Like Yeah,
Totally
it's
missing the plot.
yeah. So I just didn't like I just didn't like what the script did with her character by making her passive aggressive. So, yeah.
I wrote down actual good character development for Kobe, but that was about a different scene than what that writing that down makes me think of. If that makes sense. So I don't know why I wrote down actual good character development for Kobe, but apparently he received good character development. Clap, clap, clap.
And what scene are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't know. Some scene after after Zoro asks Nami what weight she's carrying on her shoulders, maybe. Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So there's like there's okay. So like it's Kobe overhears Garb talking to
I think
Mihawk.
that's a different scene. I think it's when Kobe's having a conversation with Helmeppo on the deck of the ship about like how
Yeah, he's asking
the
about the warlords.
yeah, how the warlords are like above the law or whatever. In that conversation, there was good character development for Kobe. I
Yeah,
don't
because
have
he's
any more
actually
details
questioning
about it.
things.
Yeah. So he's like,
He's questioning because he's questioning how the world works.
yes.
Is that where you're trying to go?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not just like, wow, being a Marine is great. He's being like, oh, okay, we're working. The Marines are supposed to be good at standing, beacons of justice. But they're here we are working with like warlords. Like, what's up with that? That doesn't seem okay. And
Even
Helmeppo's
using the
kind of
term
like
warlord.
whatever. Okay. And then like Helmeppo's like, okay, you don't know, like you may know how to tie a knot, but you don't know how the world works, okay?
The world is gray.
I do tend to agree that the world is I do tend to agree that you do have to see there's a lot of nuance in things. And I do think that if you ignore the nuance of things and like, okay, well, look, it's time to crack that egg open. And I do think that it is a good thing that Kobe is going through this change because we do need to see it. I'm tired of Kobe's character already, you know. We need to see a little
Yeah.
change in him.
I'll comment a little bit more on that a little bit. So another thing you don't get is Luffy breaking dishes and being generally incompetent at the working for the Baratier. Where he's like given a dish to wash and then he like just drops it on the floor.
Oh yeah, and I think they so they put him to work doing dishes because he orders everything on the menu and he doesn't pay for it. He tries to like put credit on it or something, right? So they're like, okay, bro, you're gonna wash dishes then.
But he's way more competent of an individual in the live action is what I'm getting at, where he's not just breaking literally everything. And also, it's
wow, he can actually wash dishes. Wow, he's not that neurodivergent, basically.
But it's also a lot more plain, I guess, of a setup to the Baratier than what is done in the original series. Where in the original series, he is fighting full body, accidentally redirects a cannonball by his hand slipping at the Baratier.
Oh yeah.
Damages the roof and hurts Zeph and is conscripted for that reason.
Yeah. Oh my god, and it's hilarious in the anime when he's like, "Oh my god, it took your leg off."
Yes. Yeah, and you even get a funny bit in the process.
And he's like,
it's
"No,
like,
it's
no,
like
you
like
don't."
That.
And he's whacking him on top of the head with his peg leg.
Yeah, he's like beating him up with his peg leg. That's hilarious. Like, oh man, my disabled king.
There's so many jokes that are just gone.
Yeah, and then like Zeph is kind of a grumpy old man in the anime, but man, they like be really extra grumpy in live action.
Oda is such a funny writer. He understands slapstick humor so well, and there's just no humor.
Oh, and we
It makes
missed the
me
booger
die. Yeah, there's no booger.
bit. Even though that grossed me out so bad. I mean, I missed it.
That's
I
something
missed
that
it.
that's something that might be difficult to adapt into live action, but it's such a funny bit that you're missing out, and that's a funny bit that's used to further solidify the cohesiveness of the group and the friendliness of the group and how they all like each other. So like part of the reason why I wrote the shit about Nami's betrayal, yeah, is that some of the point with her betrayal is that being together with that group of people makes her forget about her problems because there's so much fun to be around. And you just don't get any of the exuberance of any scenes. You don't get any like fun tonality which indicates that that this is like a fun group for her to be around. It's like how in the anime,
because she's like she's basically in the live action. She's like me, just constantly anxious over everything all the time,
yeah,
24/7.
yeah,
But like
and-
like saying like I'm not a part of this group. I don't want to be here. Like I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. When like she's just so like it being a part of the Straw Hats is like a breath of fresh air.
yeah,
For
it's
her,
like
you
it's
know?
like how in the actual series, Nojiko comments that this is the first group of people that she's ever seen Nami smile about, like being with and talking about, or rather, that they've said something to the effect of like she hasn't smiled for the past like 12 years, except for when she's been with the Straw Hats.
Yeah.
And you don't get any indication that that's like she like smiles and laughs a little bit, but it's not nearly to the same extent as she does in the actual series. And a major reason for that is because you get none of the slapstick humor and you get none of the lighthearted tonality of any of the joke scenes. When
Yeah.
they are having fun with each other, it's nothing that would ever like cause you to bust out laughing.
Yeah, and like there is a little bit of the like on the ship before, like in the live action, there's a little bit where Nami's like, haha, where she's like, it sounds so forced, but when she's laughing out loud by herself, it sounds so forced in the live action. It
Yeah.
hurts my soul. And they're like, see,
I'm
this is
just-
what being a crew is all about. And then Garp comes in and
Yeah.
ruins the whole, the vibe, basically. Ugh.
Yes. I'm just thinking about the Booker bit again, man. The
That's so
Booker bit
disgusting.
is so
Yeah.
good.
It's great.
funny.
Because he just makes him chug his own booger. Yeah, because basically Luffy's like salty because like he has to work while everybody's eating, So he's
Yes.
mad. He's acting like a brat.
He is acting like a brat. He's being vindictive, and Zoro makes him eat his own booger because
And he's
of
like,
it.
"Why did you make me do that?" And
He's
I'm
like,
like, "Why did you put it in there then, Luffy?
He's
What
like,
do you
suck
mean?"
it up. You caused this. This is your fault. You can't make me drink your booger.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and Usopp and Nami also have like a really cute friendship in the anime, and man, them two, they're like busting a gut laughing in the corner, like they're like draped over each other,
just-
busting a gut laughing.
Especially while they're seeing Luffy pick his nose and put it in the drink too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're trying so desperately to hold in their laughter.
Great. And then like as soon as like Zoro like picks up on it and like makes him actually drink it, they just immediately start busting a gut laughing, I mean, they're having a ball. I mean, basically, like everybody's kind of like chilling and eating, and they're just like roughhousing over there in the corner. Great.
That scene is so funny, man.
He's still laughing about it, man.
I am. It's
You
true.
forgot about the booger bit. The only reason I remembered the booger bit because I went back and watched the episode we did on the anime. It's the only reason why I remember.
Booger bit is so funny.
Only reason why I remembered.
It's it's just really too bad that the philosophy of the live action feels like no jokes. No jokes are allowed. We're adapting a series that's like half comedy, and no jokes are allowed.
None. We're serious over here in these parts, you know?
Yeah, we're just so serious in America. We can't have funny shows. The funniest we get here in America is The Office, which is like super dry humor that like there's
Dry
no
humor, though. That's my favorite.
it's just snarky. It's so funny when they're snarky to each other. You know what else is funny? Forcing each other to drink their burgers.
Oh, look, you just gotta wait till you become old like the rest of us, you know. Like then you'll find the dry humor
Okay, but even
snarkiness funny.
old people. No, even old people like fucking Jim Carrey.
I hate Jim Carrey.
Jim
Jim Carrey's the worst actor. Ugh, he's so annoying. I hate him.
Personal taste, but even so, people like Jim Carrey and maybe better examples of Robin Williams and Jack Black. These people are funny in non-dry ways. These people are pretty hysterical, perhaps in their own ways. Maybe not to everybody's maybe not suited to everybody's taste. But it's like these are Western people who are funny in slapstick ways. Why is my television show about a goofy little rubber man not funny?
What a goofy rubber man.
He's a goofy little rubber man. Let it be funny. I get that when
yeah.
I get that when like fans praise the series to high heavens and get like super neurotically obsessed about it. It's because of like all the world building and all of the like sad backstories and like the climactic fights and all of the like dramatic shit. But you have to recognize that even oftentimes during a lot of that shit, it's still a funny series. There's still jokes being made even when you're crying.
I mean, yeah, that is true. And like I don't know, Luffy's just like this little, and Luffy is like this little funny neurodivergent child running around, you know, the world. So like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he is pretty neurodivergent in this in the live action, but not in the same fashion. So yeah.
Yeah. So
Everybody is like I think the thing is with live action is what they try to do is make everybody seem like more relatable and more like a person, you know, versus like anime you can kind of like make people's personalities like make them more over exaggerated, you know. I think the mindset was maybe like we don't want real people acting like this, you know.
But that's ridiculous because there are relatable aspects of each of the One Piece characters. I mean, sure, they're exaggerated to one extent or another, but literally every fictional character is exaggerated to one extent or another.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's silly to feel like that's a good or decent excuse to not
I'm just
may
thinking.
have a funny series.
Just thinking, you know.
So having the setup be that they bribe their way in and then fail to pay for their meal is, if functional, just not as funny and not as creative, and also is slower to introduce you to characters. And then they don't have the dish breaking, which means they don't have him working as a waiter, which means you don't get the booger scene. You don't get one joke leading into another because Oda's a funny guy.
I did get my fun food facts though, so I did like that. So that there's a plus for me.
Yeah.
In that scene where Sanji is serving them.
Yeah.
Sanji is suggesting to Nami, like I did like kind of what they did with his flirting a little bit. He's not so much of a simp. he's more of like like his flirting is a little, of course, like a little overbearing, but like that's kind of flirting like I would personally put up with, you know. And
Yeah, I think that is a decent way of adapting his otherwise like super overblown chivalry, because the
mhm.
super overblown chivalry would just be downright uh sh- hard to understate it, to
Oh
adapt
yeah.
into live action and not come across as like obnoxious
Um,
and awful.
yeah,
Um,
it would.
having
So,
having him go for a more like suave and or charismatic sort of wooing of
yep,
women is that
more
is
palatable.
yes, that is a smart adaptation change that doesn't functionally change anything about Sanji or his character, while making it more suited to the medium of delivery.
Yep. And like one of the things he offers her is called what is it called? Yumesu, which is a Japanese plum wine. And it's something you typically have before meals, so you can cleanse your palate and stimulate saliva, stimulates hunger, so you can better enjoy your meals. So there's my fun food fact.
Okay.
You're welcome. Have you ever had plum wine? Pretty good.
I don't. I mentioned like an hour and a half
Oh my
ago
god.
that I don't
Oh my
drink
god. I'm
wine.
so sorry.
I don't drink alcohol. So
But anyways,
I think I
10
mentioned
out of 10.
yeah, yeah, the show's 10 out of 10. No complaints.
No complaint.
I believe I mentioned before why the conflict about serving free about why removing the context of Krieg from him serving free food to Geen is bad, because it removes a central conflict of the arc, which is important to Sanji's character.
Mhm.
I found it really funny that when Zoro offers to play a drinking game with Nami, he pours out 3 glasses as opposed to 2, one for each of
Oh
them,
yeah, that's right.
and then
Yeah.
and then it just so happens that they take 3 drinks total. Oh wow, how convenient.
Yeah, how very convenient. And like the whole drinking game thing, like I don't know, like I'm just like Zoro and Nami have no chemistry whatsoever. I don't know why they're trying so hard to make them have chemistry when the script calls them to have none.
Yeah,
Like it just feels so forced. Like why does Nami feel comfortable enough to like spill her guts, you know, in her own way, spill her guts to Zoro? When Zoro's, like, so uncomfortable, like, I would never wanna spill my guts to somebody like Zoro, I'm so sorry.
yeah. Another thing that's odd about it is that the crew don't ever go out of their way to question the backstories of each other at any point in the series. It's that kind of stuff comes out naturally. Like, for example, um, I guess it wouldn't be too much of a spoiler to just state that Nico Robin has more of a backstory than you have seen.
Mhm.
That doesn't feel like it would stretch the imagination that much to say that.
No. No, not
um,
really. Okay.
but at no point in time prior to that backstory happening, slash revealing itself, uh, do any of the crew like interrogate her on who she is as a person.
Mhm.
There's kind of a little bit of a wishy-washy sort of thing about it at the start, because she
Yeah.
had been working for Crocodile, and Zoro in particular was like, I don't trust you, after she won over the hearts of everybody with money and choppa.
Yep,
Uh,
and her little silly magic tricks, you know, that
yeah.
Luffy loves.
But Zoro didn't never really do anything about it.
Yeah. My thing was that it almost seemed like he was like, okay, well, I'm on to you.
Yeah,
You know, if you do anything suspicious.
he was saying like, I'm keeping my eyes on you, and but like there's nothing more has happened. So it was just odd to have like such a interrogation-esque scene between the two of them. In addition to, as you said, they don't really have much of a conversation or have much of a fucking
there's no foundation, it feels like, for them.
yeah.
Well, okay. They've been so far in the live action, they've kind of been stuck together. They were like kidnapped together and had to like work together. So maybe, but like I don't know. It feels like this whole time live action's been trying to like force them to like I don't know, be a not a thing, I would say, but just have this kind of
To have
conversation. And I'm just
chemistry.
like, yeah, to have chemistry, and it's just
That
like
was the word I was
way.
looking for earlier, was chemistry.
It's just like a way though, because like Zoro just can't have. I mean, Zolo cannot have chemistry with anybody. Um. So yeah, and also, um, yeah, and she drops a line that like, "Oh, I had no friends growing up." So you're like, okay. And again, like this is something that isn't alluded to at this moment in time in the anime because like her backstory is completely still a mystery, but like we get a small hint of it here, which just feels weird to ask about like just to drop the line like, "Oh, I didn't have any friends." Like, okay, and
Yeah.
is that supposed to bring us closer together? Like by saying like you had one friend and I had no friends? Like I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, to
I
be
don't.
fair,
It's
it
just
does.
weird.
The line does get brought up later on with the whole like when Zoro goes to fight Mihawk, but it's just like it's kind of stupid. It just is stupid.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't enjoy this interaction. It made me feel awkward. So yeah,
I
it was
mean,
too tense.
uh, I'm too sick of complaining to check into every single little like thing that I like maybe had a minor complaint about.
Oh, but Usopp. I thought Usopp drinking out of that fishbowl with like 3 straws was cute.
It was certainly, it tastes like candy, it's not alcoholic. See, that's them having decent writing.
Yeah, yeah, it's cute.
They had decent writing most of the time throughout the episode.
Yeah, and Zolo saying that like, oh, the last time I said that I was like, what do you say? It's face down. I woke up face down under a table
Yes.
or something like that. I'm like, but Zoro would never get drunk. Okay.
Yeah, not anymore.
Okay, not anymore. But anyways,
He's developed that high of a tolerance because he's a daily drinker. He's just quite
he's
literally an
a
alcoholic.
full-blown alcoholic.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, I thought that was like cute, kind of back and forth that him and Usopp have. If anything, him and Usopp have more chemistry than him and Nami. But that's just me.
So for one maybe last Garp scene, there's an ACAB
Oh,
conversation
no.
between him and Kopi. And it's like fine that they're having that ACAB conversation, but when it's filtered through Garp and like the way that it is framed, it still feels like apologia. So
To me,
still feels like cop apologia, even though they're like at the same time also saying like the themes of this. One of the themes of One Piece is ACAB. We're gonna do some apologia for the cops anyways.
see, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was kind of thinking like One Piece has shown us so far in the anime and the manga that these are what the Marines are like. At least where we are in Skypiea. This is what the Marines are like. This is how they operate. This is sorry about the pencil. This is how they act.
And it doesn't get better.
And apparently it gets worse. So, how do you, the audience, feel about this after we have presented you all the evidence? And instead, Garp is telling us how we should feel about it.
Yeah.
And that makes me uncomfy. Because again, I just don't like being spoon-fed, the material. I think, and I think it's a good thing that Kobe has to recognize that these kind of things do happen in big organizations. That corruptions do happen in big organizations, and this is a learning lesson for him. It's time to grow up and realize uh, that this Marine, the Marine that you idolize so much, this is what's been behind it. So, are you in? Are you out? You know,
Yeah,
and
I think it was a fine conversation, especially for the character development of Kobe. I just it, I just take issue with the the way that it's trying to frame Marines in this live action adaptation. I've complained about it before with the ACAB stuff in the previous episodes.
but
It
yeah.
just
Well, what about this scene though?
I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I would have to remember or look at the particular words in the dialogue. But it rubs me the
Hmm.
wrong way having Garp as the vice admiral of the Marines be like, yeah, the Marines are corrupt. Fucking whatever. I turned
I
I
think
turned down promotions to the head of the Marines, where like maybe I could have tried to structurally change these things, although considering what's the case later on in the series, maybe not. Um, but
I
in any
think it
case,
was like
I turned down these promotions because the Marines are just like this organizationally. Fucking whatever, man. It just is what it is. It's like, oh,
I
thanks,
thought he
Garp.
said I thought he had said he had turned down promotions because like he would have to fundamentally change
Yes,
who he
yes,
was.
he turned down the promotions in the live action. The almost precise wording he used is because he would lose his freedom
Mm.
to act in the manner that he wishes if he were to accept those promotions. I'm just getting at like I understand and I'm completely on board with that reasoning for why Garp stayed a vice admiral, and it is also consistent with the reasons why he did in the actual series. I'm on board with that. I just dislike the general like framing of the conversation and have Garp basically saying like, yeah, the cops are corrupt. Fucking whatever, dude.
I see. I see. But I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like how what's that girl's name? That swordswoman and the
Kuina or
yeah,
Shishigi?
yeah, yeah. Tashiki and Smoker, the kind of journey they went on.
Yeah,
And kind of
their journey is
but
so
but they
much
went on an
more.
actual journey of introspection
Yeah,
and
theirs is so much more
you know,
effective at conveying
yeah.
the ACAB themes and the corruption and whatnot.
So and that's what I mean to hear. It's like, let's just do this within like 10 to 15 minutes and get it over with.
Yeah, yes. There's also the matter of we're not gonna like explore this idea. We're just gonna like state that it exists. It's like okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Um,
Which to me, it's like I typically liked how the One Piece anime does it, where it's like we're presenting you with the information. Now, dear viewer, how do you feel about it? Okay, bye.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but this is to be expected of the live action, is that the live action does this. It spoon feeds you basically.
So once again, Mihawk might as well have fucking teleported on the Baratier. It's literally
He looks
not
handsome in low lighting. I don't care.
it's literally not understandable how he got there.
Ew.
And also, I lied earlier. Luffy does break some dishes, but only after he's startled in the process of cleaning them by Zeph, and only the one time. So it might as well not count. Or it
No,
like
no.
it's or rather it's not nearly the same as him literally just takes a dish, dunks it in water, drops it on the floor.
Yeah, and he's like, "How many did you break? I was supposed to keep count."
Yeah, was that too.
That was so silly.
Zoro was like cleaning up his swords before his duel when he is not known for sword maintenance. In fact, he gets explicitly made fun of by
Oh, really?
at least Mihawk. I think there might be a couple other characters who did it in the East Blue as well, for not maintaining his swords. Yeah, there's a few times throughout the series that Zoro gets made fun of, for during periods of time in which he has generic swords outside of the one that he inherited. People making fun of him for using, or people making fun of him for brutalizing those swords without actually taking care of them. And so they like break and get damaged super easily, and the only reason the one he inherited that isn't happening to it is because it's a really well-crafted sword.
Special.
So the fact that he's doing
Yeah,
sword maintenance is a boo-boo.
but he's Zolo, you know. Zolo actually cares about things in life, you know.
Yeah, Zolo takes care of his swords. Zoro does not. Once again, imagine being Nami and setting up this whole like escapade of you like fucking off on your own, and leaving everybody else behind, and then not doing it, and then also that your plan wasn't to steal the going Mary.
Yeah, and then like, you know, whenever she actually does kind of leave, like in the anime at least, you know, she takes a going Mary and she like crying about it, you know, like she's yeah, and here she's like, okay, yeah, deuces, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, gotta go.
Yep. And so here she witnessed Zoro fail and get mortally wounded, when that shouldn't have been the case, because this is like not important of one, but still a setup for in Kokoyashi Village, of like her seeing his wounds and being like, yo, what the fuck happened to you? This is fucking crazy, man. Who the hell? Why are you guys so like? Basically, why are you guys so epic? My brain's fading.
Yeah, basically.
Zoro's wound looks incredibly shallow, in the live action, and like
The choreography was great though. Okay, it looked beautiful.
I mean the fight was fantastic. Whatever.
The fight was dope. And then like all those like cute little one-liners they had. I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be cute, but like it was cute. They're cute little back and forth him and Mihawk had. I think they had more chemistry than Solo has ever had with anybody.
Yeah.
You know? But from my understanding, like Mihawk like trains Zoro.
Don't spoil yourself.
Yeah, it's Twitter, okay? I can't help when I get spoiled by.
You can not go on Twitter. You shouldn't go on Twitter. Twitter is a hellhole.
I love Twitter. I'm so sorry. me and the girls and the gays and the theys, you know.
the bitches and the bros and the non-binary hoes.
That's right.
That's right. So so his wound also looks like, so yeah, if it's fantastic, I mean, most of the time I don't write it down unless it's to indicate that like it's a scene that existed that I just didn't have anything to comment on besides like it's good, because most of the things that I have to say are bad, and whenever it does something good, it's usually just like not worth saying that it's good, either because it's like very obvious that it's good, or because I don't care and I don't have anything interesting to say about it. I don't have anything interesting to say about the Zoro versus Mihawk fight choreography being great. It's great. Non-controversial statement.
Mihawk looked so hot. Just saying. Gotta say it just one more time.
The wound. Oh, you.
Yeah. It looked really shallow, and then like again with the special effects and makeup, like what were we doing?
Yeah, so here's the issue in particular I take with how shallow it looks is that in the following episode when Zeph stitches it up and like treats it, it's not bleeding. It's not like in the process of bleeding, and it doesn't look like it has like basically bled at all. Zeph says he's like he's lost
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of
that's
blood. And it's like, where's the blood that he lost?
what do
Because
you
it's not on
mean?
the floor. It's not on his clothes. It's not coming out of his wound. Where's this blood that he lost? It had to go somewhere. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
in the actual series, he's bleeding all over the fucking place.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like zombie. He's like in zombie mode right now in the anime, you know? Like, I mean, I mean, it was like brutal. I was so gross. Like, especially in the manga, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
Blech.
I mean, I wouldn't say you get a good idea for how like deep it cut, but at the same,
It's like a
but with
visceral.
all the blood that is shown, it looks very brutal. And meanwhile, the live action cut just does not look brutal.
Yeah, no. Oh, and then again, like, at like Zolo has been like, oh, I've been like he's getting ready for like the Mihawk fight, and again Nami is like, no, you're gonna get yourself killed. Like again, it's like this anxious energy that I'm like, it's, I don't know, it's just like it's just so weird for her personality, I feel like.
In that case, it wasn't that different from how I guess she had already betrayed them by that point, so it's hard to say how she would have reacted to Zoro dueling Mihawk.
Yeah, but she comes off more as like general, like she's worried about their well-being, right? Normally, like in the anime, but it's more like a it's supposed to me comes off more like as like a comedic effect, and then she's gonna like, oh well, I don't know what else to do. They won't listen to me, like, you know. She'll kind of like cry about it a little bit.
She says it's because it's for her. She cares about their well-being in the live action. And generally, if you take a look at her behavior throughout the series, it's generally in keeping with her behavior to freak out over people who are like stronger and be like, you shouldn't fight the person who's stronger, you gotta fucking die. And then they never fucking die. And it's like, oh, I guess it worked out in the end. Nobody should listen to Nami after all.
JK. But
women, am I right?
Okay, calm down, sir. Enough of the misogyny. Only misandry is allowed. Okay.
I'm about like 15 minutes from my bed, alright?
Yeah. So yeah, that's the only thing that I really have to say. But oh yeah, and then she does admit that they are friends. Yeah, in that scene, which I thought was cute. But then it's just like but then it goes into the next episode, which we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I also disliked Zolo's delivery of the final line where he says, "I'll never lose again." Because here's the thing that should be very well understood about the way that One Piece presents itself in the anime, and in addition to, even though it has no sound aspect to it, the way it presents itself in the manga, in the series, these people are fucking screaming at the top of their lungs when their emotions are at their peak.
Zoro's just a loud person too in general. You know?
Yeah.
Like, man's always yelling about it.
Like a good example is Drum Island, when Chopper's crying his heart out. He's losing it. And Vivi in Alabasta is losing it. All these people in the hyper dramatic moments are losing it. And meanwhile, Zoro, the
telenovela.
And this portrayal of Zoro in the live action, as opposed to like really taking a deep breath and just pushing out all of his air and like attempting to destroy his vocal cords in delivering that line, he is like, he took a normal sized breath and then just like spoke the words loudly.
Mhm.
I'll never lose again, as opposed to I'm not gonna shout because I am not in this house alone. And also it would drastically peak my microphone. But like the idea
But
is
yes, we
like
get it.
really fill those lungs and fucking deliver that line. Otherwise it's a weak delivery. It was a weak delivery. It was weak delivery. Fucking please.
I know seeing some of those voice actors, like the behind the scenes voice acting of like some of their like really like emotional line deliveries, man, they get into it, bro.
Of
They
course,
get
yeah.
into it.
You
They put their
have
heart
to.
and soul into it, their
You
face, and
you have to get into it, especially for something like One Piece, man. You can't not get into it with One Piece. One Piece is, for all of its characters, demonstrating like the entire spectrum of emotions throughout its runtime. In order to distinguish all of these different emotions these people are feeling at different points in time, you have to really like go ham with it. And
yeah.
your series is all the better for it when you go ham with it. But when your director is not pushing you to go ham with it, as very obviously the director was not pushing McKinney to go ham with it, just don't get it. You just don't get what you should get.
Yeah, like for the people who have seen uh One Piece, you're like, oh yeah, we kind of get how that line is supposed to be delivered. But then it's like, how does everybody else feel who watched that for the first time? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know, did they feel all the same emotions?
like
Mm,
the voice acting in the One Piece anime gives you such like a deep penetrating feeling for all of the dramatic scenes because of how ham they're going. Their
yeah.
voices like cut through you. But meanwhile in the live action, it's just like Zoro is just
What's
so
happening?
bland. It's like
And it's just like McKinney's
snore.
delivery. And I'm like McKinney. I'm like, I just feel so bad. And this is not. I mean, like, it's the movie for you. Like, man, I don't know. Because like he's a great actor. But again, I've said this in every episode. McKinney's great. He's normally great. I don't know what happened. I simp for this man. Okay, like it's just like the terrible writing.
Like
Poor guy.
you could do some like accentuating things as well to make it sound to emphasize its sound. You could like in post production, you could do some tampering with the audio to give it like a little
Oh,
bit of a minor background echo or like boosted or
mm-hmm.
what have you. And in the process, you could have the camera like pan out from into a sky shot and to make him look small so that it sound so that visually you're being cued into the fact that his voice is carrying a large distance. You can do multiple things to make it to push harder that he's shouting the way that he is. Granted, I didn't pay. I mean, I don't think they did anything with the visuals. Maybe they didn't. I just wasn't paying close attention. I don't remember. But like I just they certainly didn't do anything in post production with the audio to make it to push the emphasis on how loud he was crying out.
I'm so sorry. That last bit just kind of went over me because my dog scared the crap out of me.
It doesn't fucking matter. It was my last note anyways.
Okay.
Let it
I'm
be
sure.
done.
I'm sure you said something very profound in heart movement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I only speak the profound, the truth. And
Okay.
so,
Okay, my guy.
next time on the Pirate Odyssey, episode 6 of the live action.
We're getting to some good shit.
See you then.